so that I can share my slides?
Yes, let me
Thank you.
just do that. I don't need that one there. Okay. One little sec. Thank you for your help.
Yes, thank you. Hang on, I just need to move you out of the way so that I can. Here we go. I promise this won't be death by PowerPoint. It's just easier to talk to slides sometimes, but there aren't that many, and there's not much information on the slides. So bear with me. So thank you for coming along today. And I know this is, I think, the first meetup of the year, so it seemed kind of fitting to talk about resolutions and why we need to ditch them in 2023. I think it's also important to say that, obviously you don't need to, start focusing on intentions and habits in January. You can do it any time of the year. But, often people like to kind of have a new year as a kind of fresh start. And I kind of see September as a sort of new year as well, with the kids going back to school. So, yes. So, quick hello from me. I'm Sam. I'm a single parent and divorce and breakup recovery coach, and I support people to rebuild their lives by transforming their mindset. So, I work a lot around confidence and self esteem, the things that can really take, have a take when we've been through a divorce, like, it can really take a toll on our confidence and our self esteem. So, that's what I do. So my New Year's resolution is to stop making resolutions. Why? Because we don't stick to them. Only 16% of people who make resolutions actually stick to them. And the reasons why we don't stick to them is because often they're too big. So we say things like, I'm going to go to the gym 4 times a week for the rest of the year. Or they're not focused. So you might say, I'm going to get fit. And there's no how, well, how am I going to do this? I'm using kind of fitness as an example because it's a resolution that lots of people make at the beginning of the year, but obviously there are hundreds of other resolutions that we don't stick to. And the other reason why they don't work is because they require a change in a habit that we find really hard to implement. So that going to the gym 4 times a week, if you haven't been going to the gym once a week, how are you going to get to 4 times? It's just a really big change that is quite hard for us to kind of get our heads around, and then we very, very quickly give up and don't do anything to kind of work towards our fitness goals. So let's focus on intentions and habits instead. Why? Because they're much easier to stick to, and if we fall off the wagon, so to speak, it's much easier to jump back on. Intentions are kinder, they're softer, and they allow us a bit more kind of wriggle room. If we make these big resolutions and then we don't aren't able to complete them, within the first. If we fall off the resolution wagon, it's much harder to get back on because we think we failed. Whereas intentions, we set an intention. If we don't meet that intention for the day, it's much easier to start again the next day. So instead of saying I'm going to the gym at least 3 times this week, which is a resolution, and we'll replace it with I intend to go to the gym as many times as I can, which is an intention. It's much softer. It's not saying I'm going to go four times a week, and if I can't go 4 times a week, then I've failed. It's saying I'm going to go as much as I can, and if I can't go this week, then that's fine. I'll go next week. But how do we make sure that we commit to these intentions that we make? And that's where habits come in. And I think habits are even more important than those kind of big, intentions that we make, because small habits can lead to really big changes. Small habits can make a massive difference to our lives, and tiny improvements over time can lead to huge changes. But how do we create habits? We start small and we make them as easy as possible to stick to. And I've given you some examples there. So if you're always forgetting to take your vitamins, put them next to the coffee machine so that they're there every morning when you go to make your cup of coffee. There are your vitamins. Pick them up and you take them. If you if you want to go to the gym in the mornings but you never quite get round to it because you forget to put your gym clothes on, then you get dressed in your normal clothes and then you think, oh god, I'm not going to go to the gym today because I'm dressed in my normal clothes and I can't be bothered to get undressed and dressed again. So leave your gym clothes laid out every evening somewhere that you can see them, on the floor next to your slippers, for example, so that they're there as soon as you wake up. It's a reminder, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym today. If you want to start writing in a gratitude journal but you forget to do it, leave it on your pillow, leave it somewhere where you can see it. So at the end of the day, when you're just about to get into bed, because often people like to do gratitude around bedtime, pick up the journal and write in it. It's just really easy because you've seen it, it's right in front of you. Another example is, if you find yourself reaching for the biscuit tin when you're working from home, start making healthy snacks at the weekend with the kids, make it as fun as possible. Because if our healthy snacks are there ready for us to eat, we're much less likely to go for the biscuits. So they're just some examples of, things, but there are hundreds of other things that we can do to make those habits as easy as possible to stick to. I'll give you another example, actually. Someone said, and I'll talk a bit more about this a bit later, but you wouldn't believe the number of clients that I have that say to me that they are scrolling before bed every night. They can't put their phone down. They're staying awake till really late because they just can't stop doom scrolling. And I say to them, well, why do you need to have your phone in the bedroom? Well, keep it in the kitchen on charge. And they say, oh, but I need to use it as my alarm. And I just say to them, well, buy an alarm clock. And they're like, oh yeah, hadn't thought of that. Hadn't thought of buying an alarm clock. So that you're taking away that temptation, and it's not, your phone isn't next to your bed anymore. And again, it's the easier we make those habits, the easier it is to stick to them. So on average, it takes more than 2 months before a new behaviour becomes automatic, 66 days to be exact. And if you think about things like brushing our teeth, it's something that we do every single day without even thinking about it, getting dressed, washing our face. And it's because they're habits that we've built up over time. And we can do this with pretty much any habit. If we keep doing it, if we keep doing the same thing every day, repeating it, eventually it becomes second nature. And I know that, as single parents, we're all incredibly busy. And obviously, the easier it is, and the easier we make it for ourselves, the easier it's going to be for us to stick to them. So, key is make it as simple as possible. How to break bad habits. So, obviously, if we want to start creating good habits, we need to break those bad habits as well. And like I said before with the phone, it's about making them invisible or difficult. So if you know that you're doom scrolling every single night before bed, take the phone out of your room, put it on charge in the kitchen, and buy an alarm clock. You can't, if your phone's not next to you, you're not going to go all the way downstairs to get it and start scrolling through it, at 11 o'clock at night. It's just making it much more difficult for you to do that. And here are some examples. So if we're distracted by our phone, move it to another room. If you're always feeling that you're not enough, stop following people on social media who make you feel that way. This is huge. So many of my clients say to me, "Oh, I look on social media and everyone has that perfect life or the perfect relationship." First of all, they don't. It's, everything on social media is seen through a filter. And second of all, if people are making you feel that way, stop following them. If we had friends, acquaintances that we saw who were making us feel rubbish, we wouldn't see them anymore. And that's the same with, people on social media. Just stop following them. And if you internet shop when you're feeling low, stay off your device, find something to distract you. Again, it's about making the bad habit, as difficult as possible to do. And if you can't see the phone, you're not going to internet shop. So that's all my slides, actually. I'm really happy to take questions and kind of find out a bit more about you and what you want to get out of this workshop. I just wanted to kind of give you a bit of an overview on what intentions and habits were. I have a free intentions and habits workbook on my website, which you are welcome to download. It has a habit tracker in there, so you can keep track of your habits and when you're doing them, and also kind of teaches you a bit more how to set intentions and how to stick to them. So I shall stop sharing my screen and happy to take questions. I know I kind of rushed through that a bit, but I think it's important to kind of be able to, get as many questions from you guys as possible.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sam.
Right.
Does anybody have any questions that they want to bring to light? I've got a few that we could talk through from the community. If not, does anyone have any immediate something that they might want to ask Sam now? No, everybody good? Okay. So we had a question. Really, as we were talking, all of us as single parents, and me and Sam were having a little chat beforehand, it's so hard to rebuild, restart with all of the emotions and the upset and the overwhelmingness of everything. So where do you start to see the light at the tunnel as such? And where do you get the strength and the positivity to change the direction that I guess the life has thrown at you, whether we wanted it or not?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we all kind of recognise that feeling and those emotions. And I think the first thing to say is it's really important to kind of feel those emotions. So if you are feeling sad or angry or hurt or, any of those feelings, make sure that you've acknowledged them and don't keep them bottled up, because that's the worst thing you can do. So share if you can. I remember when I went through my divorce and I was the only person in my social network who was going through that. And I felt often that I couldn't burden my friends, that, they don't want to hear my story again. And so I didn't share as much as I probably should have done. And I think the first thing is, kind of make sure that you've released those emotions. And that's why kind of groups like Frollo are so important, that that kind of feeling that that you're not alone, that there are other people out there who are going through exactly the same as you. I have a Facebook group for women who've been through divorce, and it's almost comforting to know that there are other people out there that are either at the same place as you or are a bit further along in their journey and have got advice and experience that they can kind of relay back to you, so that that, I guess it's about hope, isn't it? It's about kind of having someone who's a bit ahead of you that can say, yeah, it does get better. It really does get better, because when you're in the thick of it, it doesn't feel like it's going to get better. So that's the first thing I would say. And I would say, if you just don't know where to start, I think the biggest hurdle often is just making a start. Decide what it is that you want to start doing and just get over that hurdle. So if it is, I really want to start feeling confident again, because, divorce and breakup can have a huge impact on our self esteem and our confidence. And if that's the thing that you want to start kind of changing, then just take that first step. That's what I would say, because that first step is always the hardest.
It is, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like anything, isn't it? When a relationship breaks down, that's hard, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So, and that's the first as such.
Yeah.
And then as the journey continues, it throws every curveball at you, I guess. So
Yeah.
starting, it's a really good place to start.
It is. And also just kind of working. So I'm a mindset coach. So, I work mainly with women, men also, but mainly women, around kind of improving their mindset so that they are more resilient and are more confident and able to kind of move forward and start rebuilding their lives. Because I think one of the things that we often kind of see divorce as the end, it's the end, but actually we could reframe it and see it as a beginning. It's a new beginning. It's a time for us to start focusing on us and what we want from our lives. And maybe there are things that you've always wanted to do that maybe your ex didn't want to do. So this is maybe the time that you can start doing the things for you. And kind of, because if we just view divorce as the end, it's quite hard. Where do you go from the
Yeah.
end? Where how can you move forward if you've reached that brick wall?
And I think that's what's so hard,
Yeah,
because you do think it's the end, but
I
it's
do.
just the end of that period of time, isn't it? That marriage, that
Exactly.
relationship,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
or it.
yeah.
I'm only
It's
saying that
about,
because I'm 6 years down the line. I was in the thick of it for years. Do you know what I mean? So I've kind of shifted as such.
yeah.
And but when you're in the thick of it, it's awful. And we've got a question as well from the team, and we were talking about this actually, Sam, weren't we? That it's so hard to relate to people that I know with two-parent families, and that is like even your old friends,
Yeah,
friends of like from the marriages, relationships, and their friends, and it's like you sort of have to break free from some of that. You
yeah,
know, to be like some old friends and friendships and relationships. Like I found now, I sat down with one of my older friends and just said, I just don't think I can be friends with you because we're at such a different part now, and I don't feel that you were there for me and you have any understanding. And it was really sad and upsetting, but I really felt better after doing that. And
yeah,
that was hard.
yeah,
But sometimes you don't have other things in common with these people other than because you're both sets of married with children and you're friends for the reason of that rather than moving on or helping you move on. So I think sometimes other things have to come to an end, don't they, Sam?
yeah. I think
Do
they
you
do.
have any advice about that, Sam, when you have like this mix of friendships and
I
family
think
members?
I think it's a really good question, and I think it can be really challenging. Um, I think first of all, what we all do a lot is compare ourselves to other people. We do it, we look on social media, like I was saying about breaking bad habits. We are comparing ourselves to other families. We're comparing ourselves to our friends, and we need to just stop doing that, because it's so toxic to constantly be comparing yourself to other people. So don't kind of see that you can't relate to your friends because they're in two parent relationships. Um, because they will often have a lot of the same challenges that you do. I think that's the first thing I would say. And also, I would say that, when I went through my divorce, I had friends that just sort of didn't contact me at all. And that, and they're not my friends anymore. I think it's about finding people that you can relate to and having, a trusted group of friends that you can confide in. And also, communities like this are really important. Like I said before, that it's about being able to talk to people that are going through very similar things to you. I think also, don't think that you are burdening your friends, because you're not. They're your friends. They want to be able to support you. So, yeah, I mean, just I think really, the key is to not compare yourself to two parent families, and to, kind of find that trusted group of friends that you are happy to talk to.
And I found as well, with going to different places and starting different activities,
Yeah,
I found like a new group of friends as
yeah,
well. So I
yeah,
still have really good old
yeah,
friends,
of course.
but I found like a new group of friends. And like I've been with Folo Community for over 5 years, and I've got loads of lovely friends
Mm.
through Folo, and they've enabled me to, like you're saying, feel very different about being divorced and a single parent.
Yeah,
And I will forever be grateful,
yeah.
because it's a lifeline, isn't it, at times?
It is a lifeline. And I think as well with friendships, that often we think that our friendships, once you make friends with someone, we have to kind of always be friends with them. And I think
Mm.
friendships come and go, and that's not a bad thing. And some people will be there for you at a point in your life when you really need them to be there, and you may not need, that relationship to continue. They were just there at the right time, and I think that's really important as well.
Thank you very much. Also, as well, another question came around, and I guess it's quite similar. It's, after such lows, where really do you get the strength from to push through?
That's a
Because sometimes they feel that it's like one knock of another and another. And you think, I know, I'll be positive today. Oh no, that's happened.
Yeah.
So how can we sort of try and change our mindset for that also?
Yeah, so that again is a really good question, and it's something that, we probably have all experienced at some point in our lives. And I know that, when I went through my divorce, I was going through a lot of other things at the same time. So I had health issues, I had family issues, and you do feel like it is literally one thing after another. When am I going to get a break? When am I going to start enjoying my life? And I think, couple of things which are around mindset. And one of the things that I really encourage everyone to do is to be grateful, is to practice gratitude. And a lot of people, when I say this to them, are like, oh God, don't be ridiculous. What have I got to be grateful for? But when you start practicing gratitude, you realize that you actually do have an awful lot to be grateful for. And you can be grateful for tiny things. So the roof over your head, your warm bed, the food in your cupboard, because there are always going to be people that don't have those things. There will always be people that want what you have. And we can get so caught up in this kind of, I don't have enough. I want, I'm not in a relationship. I want a bigger house. I want. And we forget that we have so much around us to be grateful for. And um, I'm really interested in the kind of science behind mindset, and there's a lot of scientific research that shows that being grateful has a huge impact on our mental health, in
Mm.
a positive way. And the other thing that also is been kind of scientifically proven is about it's to be joyful, it's to find the joy in small things. So everyday joy, things like going for a walk, listening to the birds singing, listening to a favourite song. You know, for me, music is a massive, it shifts my mood almost immediately. As soon, if I'm feeling a bit low, I will whack on a really high, vibe song like Lizzo or someone like that, and it just instantly changes my mood. And it's just releasing the endorphins and all those happy chemicals in your brain that help you get through those bad times. So, and it's about having hope, and it's about, again, it's about having community where you've got people that have been through what you've been through, but they're a bit ahead of you in their journey, and they can say to you, I've been there, I know what it's like, it gets better, I promise you it gets better. And just having that hope and that someone to saying that to you can make all the difference.
Absolutely. We've got another question. So how do we talk to teens about single parent families? My eldest, age 15, says that this isn't a normal family, and he's been very upset recently. My kids can see their father is a bit more antagonistic, and I know how that feels, and it is hard to know what to say at times, and I'm generally pretty honest with them, but I definitely feel that I could have some extra support and help about how do we talk to kids about abusive parents, and you definitely didn't.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. When you say abusive, is it emotional abuse? Are they, a narcissist?
It's coercive control.
Coercive control.
Yeah, narcissistic, psychopathic, the lot really, yes. It's pretty full on. Yeah.
It's really hard. It's really hard. Yeah.
It's a bit impossible.
As in, it's really hard for you to kind of deal with that, kind of relationship. Oh gosh. I mean, it's not an area that I know, like, kind of abusive relationships isn't really my area of kind of expertise, but there are lots of really good there are lots of experts who around narcissism who I'm sure would have some great advice. I know a coach who works with people that have been in narcissistic relationships, and I think she has actually been on here. I think she's done a meetup before. She's called, on Instagram, she's called Your Divorce Coach, I think. Yeah. She's called Narwhal Houghton. She's very good. She was in a narcissistic relationship for a long time. She's got 2 teenage boys. So she would be a great one to follow. It's really hard when you've got...
Can you write that in the chat? Because I didn't quite get... Yeah. Sorry, because I didn't get who...
So I think she's called Your Divorce Coach. And her name is Narwhal Houghton. Yeah, she was a lawyer as well, so she's got a lot of experience on kind of how to deal with that kind of abuse. I'm sorry I can't really be of more help. It's just not something that I know an awful lot about.
Sorry, I'm just typing at the same time. Yeah, so I'm currently waiting for a date. She did expert meetup for us last year.
Oh, okay.
The sort of beginning quarter of the year.
Yeah.
So I've been in touch before Christmas.
Okay.
To see if there's a possibility as well, because obviously for these expert meetups we try and have as much variety, and if there's any issue, positivity, etc., that then anyone on the community needs help with, support with, or anything like that, you can either just send me a message, Susanna Underwood, at the Frola. I'll pop it on in the meetup, and I'll put a little post on the main page. And then ask me for, and then I'll be in touch with other people too, so you get a really good variety.
There's also Caroline Strawson, who was also in a narcissistic relationship, and she's now a therapist, and she's brilliant. She gives lots of really good advice.
Amazing. Richard's also put on here as well, I suggest getting your son to speak to the school, because it's unfortunate, it's not very uncommon. I've got 2 daughters, and my elder daughter is 14, and father's not abusive in the sense, but very emotionally and very narcissistic, so much so now that she's chosen not to, and we had to have help. I had to with my daughter, and we had help from the school, and that sort of, it's a bit like what you're saying, Sam, that was the start of then quite a long journey, but we got there in the end. But that was the start, and I did, you know, and I will like praise my children's school. They've been amazing and super helpful. And again, it's that thing where it's not as uncommon as unfortunately we think. There is a lot of help out there, so hopefully you can get some extra help for that. And then I'll look into expert meetups for that as well, and let you all know. We've got another question. Very grateful for the presentation. And how do we deal with negative thoughts? It feels very difficult to deal with these thoughts, and the energy and the time I put in daily for the family and the kids. And then Jeremiah, it's like putting things in a drain. It seems I've wasted my pride time of my life, and I've been in the wrong relationship. Oh, I have to say, I think a lot of us within the community, and I think we will all definitely feel that kind of effect.
And I think thank you for asking that question, Richard. It is Richard, isn't it?
It was Kieran.
It was Kieran, sorry. Thank you, Kieran. It is really common. I think first of all is we don't see your relationship as a waste. It wasn't, and you will have learned a lot. It's part of your story. It's part of who you are. It's kind of made you the person that you are today. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but it's true. It's definitely not a waste, and it's really easy to focus on the negative, the negativities from the relationship. But there will be positivity, there will be positive moments, and it's about reframing that relationship as it wasn't a waste of my time. It was a time when I learned a lot about myself, and I know now what I don't want in a relationship. And that's really important, because often you can, so many people are in the same relationship for years and years and years, and never take that step out, and they're unhappy for their whole lives. So definitely don't see it as a waste. When you talk about negative, sorry, I thought someone said something. When you talk about negative thoughts, do you mean negative thoughts about you in your head? So when you're saying, we all do it, you're not good enough, you're a bad parent, you're whatever those thoughts are, is that what you mean? You can just answer in the chat if that's easier.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, thanks, Sam, for answering that question. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, negative thoughts in the sense, I just wanted to ask, it's about like, you feel like, I mean, it is something about your parenting or something about your style, or I mean, that led to the breakup in the relationship. But that, I mean, it's not entirely your fault. It is maybe little, I would say no. I mean, we have to take responsibility. Not entirely, it is one person's responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's never You know, it's never one person's fault. It's, you know, everyone has to take responsibility. And I think those negative thoughts, we all have them. And what I always say to my clients is, imagine talking to your best friend or your child the way that you talk to yourself. You would never in a million years talk to your friends the way you talk to yourself in your head. We are so hard on ourselves, and there is some really scary statistics about negative thoughts, and it's that we have 30,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of those thoughts are negative, and 20% of those negative thoughts are repeated. So it's really common. So first of all, don't think you're the only person that kind of, you know, does this. We all do it to an extent. I think the thing that we need to do, that's really important, is to start recognizing when that voice comes into our head. You know, when we start telling ourselves that we're a bad parent, or I did something wrong and it's my fault that, you know, the relationship ended, and you know, I shouldn't have said that, and I didn't do this. We need to start switching those thoughts off. And the only way we can do that is if we recognize when we're speaking to ourselves in that way. And often we don't even realize that we're doing it until we've, you know, talked to us, you know, been so horrible to ourselves in our heads that, you know, our self-esteem has just gone like this. So the first thing to do is recognize when those thoughts come into your head. And often my clients will give that voice a name. So it's like, I know someone that calls her voice Janice, which is a really annoying character from Friends. And Janice comes into her head and she says, "Yeah, I hear you, Janice. Thanks very much. I don't need to hear that today. I'm okay, thank you." And once we start doing that, once we start recognising that voice and pushing it away, the voice is less likely to come back. And what's happening is, whenever we're talking to ourselves in a negative way, we're creating these neural pathways to our brain which are sending us these messages telling us we're rubbish, we're not good enough, we're unfit, we're stupid, whatever that message is. And it's just going into our brains and we believe it. So what we need to do is start replacing those negative thoughts with positive thoughts. So switching off those neural pathways that are negative and turning on positive neural pathways. And that's where things like affirmations really work. And again, when I talk about, you know, when I've talked about this with clients, and it's the same as gratitude and joy, and they kind of look at me like, what affirmations? So you would literally talk to yourself in the mirror. I am good enough. I am a good dad. You know, I am, you know, whatever those affirmations want to be. If you Google affirmations, you'll find hundreds of them, and you can kind of, you know, kind of adapt them to how you want them to sound. But the more we're doing that, the more we're telling ourselves that we're good enough, the more we believe it, and then our self-esteem starts to creep back up again. So it is about, as soon as you hear those negative thoughts come into your head, switch them off.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah, then that's really helpful. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, I mean, particularly particularly in my case, I think because I'm from the Asian community and from the Indian origin. I mean, if I see from my friend circle, I think it is 99% of them are all married, and I'm the only one who is uh, who's, who's single, and it's very difficult to speak to others. Like I'm sure everyone has experienced the same thing, but it's even more difficult for me. Like I don't have that much of community support, you know. Apart from the family, and yeah, it's very difficult because you feel more isolated and lonely because you can't share your things with other friends who are in a similar situation, because they're all married.
Yeah. So in that case, I would say find people that you can share with, because it's really important that you do. So you've got the Frollo community. See if you can find other groups of people in your situation, because I'm sure there will be some groups out there. And I think social media gets a really bad rap sometimes, and quite rightly, with kind of comparing ourselves to other people, and all the other things that social media is notorious for. But one of the things that social media is brilliant for is community. It's finding communities of like-minded people that you can share your story with, and who have a similar story.
Yeah. Sure, definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're on mute, Susanna.
Hilarious. Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you for pointing out I was muted too. It's brilliant. I would have carried on. Is there any other questions before we head to close this evening? Well, thank you all so very much for taking the time to join us this evening. And thank you so much, Sam, for your wonderful advice and taking the time out as well and joining us all.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. We'll take it all, and if you need anything, there is a lot of support on the Frollo community too. But we will be doing lots of expert meetups, generally once a week, once a fortnight. And I have a list of lots. So if you've got any requests or anything, let me know. Send it into the main feed or direct message myself. That's no problem at all. And I will do my very best to help as well. So thank you all ever so much, and good night and take care. Okay.
Thank you. And just feel free to follow me on social media. I'm always sharing tips and mindset tips on how to kind of move forward. So give me a follow, and hopefully I'll be able to help you.
Perfect. Thank you so very much, Sam.
Pleasure.
I follow you anyway, but thanks a million. And I will see you all soon.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.